I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. We're getting up to spooky season, so it's a good idea to bring in Ghastella. Hi.
Hi.
And you must be feeling pretty good about this time of year.
I am. Don't you know all ghosts are actually born on Halloween?
Yeah, so we're getting close to your birthday, and well, congratulations on that, and welcome to the interview. How long have you
Thank you
been?
for having me.
How long have you been a VTuber?
A month and a couple of weeks.
So you're just getting you started as far as that goes. Why did you decide to do it to do this as a hobby?
I had a couple of friends in the TTRPG space who were also VTubers, and they talked about it a lot. And I decided to try it because I've always been someone who enjoys art. I am an artist, and it seemed like a good place not only to meet people who have the same interests and hobbies, but it's a good place to try to entertain others who perhaps are not having the best time, to make a difference in a smaller way, where you can kind of at least improve the mood, hopefully, of the people who are watching.
That's a great reason to go in. So you mentioned you're an artist, and talk about that in a second. But what about you mentioned kind of a performing in front of others? Have you been a performer in the past?
I've done theater, so I've done both normal theater and I say normal, performative theater and musical theater.
Normal theater and
Normal theater, as opposed to that which the undead prefers. It's
yes,
fine.
That's right. The theater of the damned, that type of theater. So that carried on a little bit. Was that you wanted to? Did you want to continue being an entertainer in one way or another?
Kind of, I suppose.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself as much of an entertainer. I'm very much interested in improving. What's the word I'm looking for? I guess, mental health of others, if possible. I like to advocate for that, and a lot of that also just comes from being able to take time for yourself, have fun, watch things that are both cozy or calm you down, you know, that sort of thing. I don't really look at it as being an entertainer as much as probably I should.
Well, I don't know about that. You look at the way you want to look at it. That's everybody's got different reasons for doing it, and that your reason that you mentioned is super valid and wonderful. Actually, being able to shine a little bit in other people's lives is nice, and being able to create a place where people can go and enjoy themselves and not worry about the outside world coming after them. Yeah. So, were you? So you mentioned being in and gaming and being around other people who were VTubers. Were you a VTuber fan before you started?
No, not at all. I didn't know this existed until about a year ago.
Ah.
I did watch a lot of streaming, like streamers on YouTube, of like different, both like gaming or reaction content's really popular.
Right.
But I had no idea that you could like put yourself into a 2D or 3D space in this way until very recently.
Do you find that more comfortable than, say, if you had a face cam going?
Well, yes. I mean, it's very hard to be corporeal on camera.
Yeah, it does take a little while. It does take a little bit, but this allows you to kind of be yourself without necessarily being yourself.
Correct. Yes, it's more of a true version of myself, I guess.
And you get to project that to people around the world. Yeah. So how does that strike you when you realize that the person that may be on your stream is standing in a different time zone, in a different date, probably on the other side of the date line.
It's humbling and exciting. I actually have a couple of viewers from places like Australia and Singapore, especially since I tend to stream a lot in the morning hours on Eastern Standard Time.
Mm-hmm.
So about that time when it's nighttime over on the other side of the world, I've met some people from Europe. I've met some people from East Asia. It's humbling and just kind of sobering, I guess.
Yeah, that's a
Getting
good word.
to realize that you're interacting with people from all over the place.
And then you realize too that when they come back to your streams, they're coming back because you're doing the stream.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the part that's actually been kind of hard to swallow. Like, so, I've mentioned that I'm an artist,
Mm-hmm.
and for most slash a lot of artists, kind of the hardest thing is to think of your work in a non-critical way. Um,
Oh yeah.
because once you make something, it's like, oh, I'm gonna post this, and then you can go back and look at it and be like, oh, I hate this. So content creation is kind of the same way. You're always thinking, oh, I could do this so much better. Oh, I'm not doing this good enough. But you do have people coming back, and you do have to separate it from art at this point, because instead of coming back for like how pretty your stream is or how pretty your model is, like they are coming back for your personality.
Right.
And I never expected that people would like my personality, I guess.
it you have to keep yourself from getting a big head, I guess. But
Yeah.
but really, I mean, it's for a lot of artists. You guys put your pride into what you put on either the canvas or the computer screen or whatever.
Hmm.
That's where you're putting your pride in, and that's where you say, okay, look what I've done here. It's a little different than I use the word performing again, but you're in front of an audience, and they're coming back
Hmm.
because not necessarily what you do, but because of you yourself.
Yes, and it's a little scary sometimes because you put on a character,
Hmm.
but you do drop character
Hmm.
frequently if that's your sort of stream variety type.
Right.
Unless you're in character all the time, and then you can kind of be more vulnerable, or they start to learn things
Yeah.
more about you. And it's just like I said, I've only been doing this for a month, so I guess I didn't expect those things to be interesting to people, but
Yeah.
I'm always very grateful to find out that they are.
Yeah. Which is great. It's great to see, and you can tell just by talking with you what it means to you because you can hear I can hear you smile when you talk about it. It's really it does my heart good to hear that. Um,
Oh, thank you.
with your artwork, have you were you an artist as a young person? Were you crayoning all over the wall?
Yes, those many hundreds of years ago. No, I started drawing unseriously probably when I was about
Mm,
five-ish, very, very long time ago.
mm,
And I only started taking it very seriously when I became an adult.
mm,
Um, I skipped over a lot of the trying to understand how things work, anatomy and fundamentals,
right.
until I was probably around like 22 to 23. And then I started really sitting down and doing like serious practice sessions of just focusing on like anatomy fundamentals of the hand for like a week straight to improve.
It only took you a week for the hand. That's pretty good.
I'm no, I still can't draw hands.
When I have an artist
Getting
on
there.
I talk to artists on here, I usually we go for a while and then I say, "How about hands?" and they try to hang up on me.
Yeah, yeah. Hands and sometimes arm placement. Sometimes one of my legs looks a little bit longer than it's supposed to be.
Well, people aren't perfect. That's fine.
That's fine. He's supposed to look like that. You're so right.
That's right. I mean, you are being not being very. If someone criticizes it, they're not being very welcoming and open about people. You
Mhm.
guys use that as an excuse. Um, so you had your own style before really you started learning about the basics, and you adapted. Did you adapt the basics to your style, or was it the other way around?
So I actually still don't have a style.
Mm.
A style of art is something that you kind of develop after doing several style studies, things like that. I'm finally starting to get into do is like doing actual studies on different styles, finding out different things that you like,
Hmm.
trying to remember how to shade sometimes.
Mm.
But I tend to flip flop all over the place with my art style because I'm still not 100% sure on what my art looks like.
Mm.
But I'm getting there. I definitely think that I fell into the trap of thinking that I have to do something that's the most profitable and
Yeah,
marketable,
yeah.
which at the time was like anime and chibis and things like this. But my style has definitely been influenced by like tabletop RPG games, comics, different cartoons that I watched growing up.
Hmm. Hopefully not like Beavis and Butthead, because that's not probably going to sell too well.
No, no, more. I found out actually recently. I did like a whole draw from reference stream or not reference from memory stream, and I got like Mandy from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy perfectly, and then I did Johnny Bravo great, but
Oh,
then I tried to do Cat Dog. I'm like I don't remember where any of this goes.
you end up between a cross between Cat Dog and Courage.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, you talk about some of my favorite shows there. I know I was too old to watch them, but I watched them anyway. So everybody get off my
You're
back.
never too old to enjoy good animation.
When I found a DVD copy of the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, I bought it, and my wife looked at me like, "Really?" Yes, really.
Oh,
I want to watch every single one of them,
yes.
and I have, and now I can't find it, so I don't know what she did with it.
Awful.
No, well, the I can still find it online. The the that type of influence sounds like to me you just not you just haven't pigeonholed yourself.
Yes, but I'd also like to eventually find a style that's recognizable. I guess every artist dreams of that, of people being able to look at a drawing and be like, oh, so and so drew that.
That's a Ghastella drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
So when did you start working with computerized stuff, or are you still mostly with the paper and
Oh no,
traditional?
I can't draw on paper anymore. I don't have Control Z on that.
I understand that. Yes.
I recently tried to go back to pencil and paper, and I was like, I don't remember how to draw lines.
Yeah, yeah. I do that with writing stuff too, because I used to write
Mm.
as a kid, and then getting into radio and constantly typing, and then going from typing to computer. I don't Writing now more than one paragraph on a piece of paper makes my arm hurt.
I'm
Like,
so sorry.
yeah, I'm like, why? What am I doing this for? I could just do it and type it on here and fill it randomly. That
Hmm.
the Did you find it easy to make the transition over to digital?
I started doing digital art when I was a lot younger, so I feel like that and having like a family member who also did digital art
Mm,
definitely made it easier.
yeah.
I did have also a background in graphic design, so I already kind of knew how to use some Adobe products,
Mm,
which definitely made it easier. I currently use Clip Studio Paint,
mm,
which I mean that's been a game changer for just how user friendly it is.
yeah. They've finally gotten to where they've rounded off the sharp edges with a lot of these programs,
Hmm.
and make it a little more accessible to people. Um, but in your case, you had the background to make that change and make it pretty successfully.
Hmm.
Wow. So that's again something that I will be jealous of you for. but but there's a challenge. There's a difference between making art, drawing art, having the concept for art, and showing it to somebody else.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
was that harder for you to do, or was it easy for you to show off and say, "This is for you. This is what I
Um,
did."
I actually only started showing off my artwork in May of 2024.
Mm. So it's been
For
very
the
recently.
longest time. Go ahead.
It's been very recently then.
Yes, I was especially because of like I've been part of the art community, and you see, especially on places like TikTok and YouTube, there's a lot of people that are very quick to tear artists down when their styles aren't like completely polished,
Mm.
or especially younger artists that are just now starting, that if you don't have like a super polished, perfected, straight line art kind of style,
Mm.
that you get lumped in with basically not knowing what you're doing, or if you don't have like a super polished style, people are very quick now to be very unfriendly towards those who share this sort of artwork, or even beginner artists.
Mm.
And that sort of criticism for a long time scared me.
I can't blame you
Um,
there.
and you eventually get to a point where you just don't care.
That comes with getting a little older.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
you know what? Screw them. I'm going to do it myself anyway.
Yeah.
Now, is it mostly? Do you get most of the criticism like that from other artists or other people who think they're artists?
Um, Very rarely
Ah.
from other artists. It's mostly just from people who have a lot of time on their hands. And it does fall into a lot of trends, like the whole TikTok art lore thing that started. It, it, it's it's just a new culture of being very unfriendly to one another, I feel, and trying to make it into kind of a competition.
Mm.
Whereas I feel like the art community is full of people who should understand insecurities.
Yeah, yeah,
Because when you put something down on paper or canvas or anything of the sort, you really are kind of more or less bleeding your personality onto the paper,
right.
or your own insecurities, and like sharing that with an audience.
And it does take, to me, it would take a lot of courage to show that to people and say, "Look what I've done," and
Yeah.
then maybe say, "Would you like to buy it?" That takes a little even more courage at that point. But I don't understand. I'm glad you said that it wasn't the artists themselves for the most part, because
Hmm.
when we're talking about a situation now in the world where AI is so prevalent
Mm-hmm.
and taking over, I would think that the art community would be even more welcoming of people with their own style rather than conforming to the
Definitely.
same style that you can eventually just program into a computer and have do.
That, and this is probably the time most when the art community should be welcoming in beginner artists more than ever, especially not, don't just think of beginner artists as like children and teenagers. There are plenty of people who start their journey into learning their type of art, like what they like most, in their 30s and 40s.
Hmm.
And with the rise of all of this AI generative imagery, because I won't call it art. Um, this is the time where we should be much more welcoming to new artists, and like helping them find the resources that they need to grow. Because I'll admit, when I first started drawing, it was so hard to figure out what I needed to draw, and still until I started getting into other streamers who would do a lot of what are they called? Speed paints
Speed paints, okay.
and such, to kind of learn the techniques that they used, because when you ask people they usually just say practice, but then the question is like, practice what?
Uh, it usually is practice and slam door in your face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, sometimes the old saying is, "Don't ask the rich for advice; they do not want company."
yeah.
That
Like I didn't know what the fundamentals were. I didn't understand how to start practicing anatomy. I didn't know what 3D models would be used for, this sort of thing.
mhm.
And once I figured out all of these resources that existed, it was much easier to start um, doing like that and with that you don't know what the difference when you first start between just practicing and like doodling every day or
Right.
like dedicated practice to something.
Right. Everybody can doodle.
Hmm.
Even I can doodle and probably not get hit by lightning when I do it. But when I actually try to draw something, that's when the hellfire comes down. Stop.
Listen, even then it's still artwork. It's still something that comes out of you and it still has value.
Yep. Somebody has to finish last. No, you don't understand. It's really bad. It's
I,
really.
I still appreciate
Well,
it.
with this and with your art background, um,
Mhm.
did you make your own model, or have you looked into making models?
No, my model is actually a pre-made that was made by Yumimi 160.
Mm-hmm.
But I did all of the retexturing myself.
Ah, okay. Well, is it something that you might want to try in the future?
I definitely would like to learn Live 2D.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my list. I have to perfect my art style first to having like clean line art because I have a very sketchy style. Some people would call it like chicken scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, where my lines are very unsteady because I have very shaky hands.
Yeah.
Um, and Live 2D is definitely on my list of things that I'd like to learn. Just mainly for fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I do eventually want to have like a custom model, things like that. It would be really cool to make one myself.
With your art background and obviously how much you enjoy it and it's a part of what you are at this point, when you play a game online or where you play a game at all, do you notice the artwork more when you're playing it? And does that contribute to whether you enjoy the game or not?
Absolutely.
Mm.
So a lot of the games that I grew up playing definitely influenced my art style. One of which being I grew up playing the old Castlevania platformers,
Oh, yeah.
Castlevania 4, Symphony of the Night,
Hmm.
games like Final Fantasy, 4 to 5 to 6,
Hmm.
the old JRPGs like Tales of, I say old, it wasn't that old to me back then, but
Yeah,
like Tales of Symphonia.
the old JPGs. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and so that does affect if you started a game now and you saw a particular art style and it didn't really float your boat. Is that going to affect whether or not you like the game?
It could. If I can give an example, like for example, when you play Okami for the first time, the
Oh,
first thing that grabs you is the art style.
oh
It's
yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah, it is.
But then you have like The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, which I've recently started playing, is a very definitive style. And that whole art style caused a big fight back when this game was coming out because
Right.
people said they were going to hate it, but then it became like one of the most beloved games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You look at games like Pikmin, where you see the little Pikmin and you know immediately what it is.
Yep. Yep.
I can't say for certain if there is an art style that exists in a game that I don't like currently. I mean, even games like Splatoon have just absolutely gorgeous art styles. But I'd have to say maybe if something is too generic,
Mm.
um, then it might kind of not resonate with me. But even stuff like Muck, where they have like giant googly eyes, was super fun for me. So
Well, it sounds. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but
mhm.
something that is looks like it could have been done by a computer,
Yeah.
and it sounds like to me that you've got that radar up.
Well, especially with AI being a thing now.
Yeah, yeah, I can't blame you there, but it's always interesting to hear artists' take on this because those of us who don't and can't really art well, I'm
Mhm.
using it as a verb. That'll get my old English teacher angry. Um, the uh, we don't understand that sort of thing. We just like how it looks and how it doesn't look. Do you find yourself
Mhm.
deconstructing some of the things that you see? and I would have done it this way. I've done
Um,
this way.
if I want to learn a particular style to maybe do fan art,
Mm.
I'll usually do like a style study or a deconstruction, but I don't know the first thing about making video games, so I would probably just leave that to the experts.
Okay. Well, we haven't even talked about the games that you're playing online.
Hmm.
What do you do play online?
Um, I am a variety streamer, so recently I've done a poll to see what most people would like to see me play. It's been a lot of Zelda,
Hmm.
Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
What did I recently play? I know I played both Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time this week.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be starting Undertale. I also play some cozy games like Story of Seasons and
Mm.
Stardew Valley, which pixel art always has a very special place to me, just because so much effort has to go into creating it.
Oh yeah. You
Um,
mentioned Stardew
hmm,
Valley, and my defenses go up because I have over 30 save files,
I understand.
and I'm trying to avoid getting back into it because I will have no time to do anything else.
I recently started Fields of Mystery, and that's been absolutely
Yeah,
gorgeous.
that does look like a good game. Is it
It's fun.
is it a lot like Stardew Valley in many ways, or is it got a
Um,
different spin?
I hesitate saying that it's anything like Stardew Valley
Hmm.
because Stardew Valley got a lot of what it has from Harvest Moon,
Right, right.
but Fields of Mystery is definitely its own. It is in the genre of Stardew Valley
Mm.
and Harvest Moon, but it's definitely its own thing. They put so much love and care into each individual NPC that you can absolutely feel just by like actually getting to know them and look at them, like the artwork for them. It's definitely a love labor.
So what you're saying is avoid at all costs if you want to do anything else in your life.
Yes.
Okay. I still haven't played the Stardew Valley since the biggest update here recently. Um,
Oh, it's good.
yeah, it
I should
changed
I
a lot of
shouldn't tell
things.
you that, but it's good.
Oh, I know it is. I've seen other people play it. I'm like, oh, it looks so good. But I'm doing interviews now. I don't have time to do that stuff all the time. Um, what are your goals right now for your channel? Have you got anything in the near future or anything in the far horizon?
Well, first, like just to be a little bit appreciative towards goals. Even though I've already only been here for a month and a couple of weeks, I actually just recently broke 500 followers on Twitch.
Man,
Um, which I don't understand why or how, but I'm super appreciative for that, and like I can't even begin to describe how like
I hear your
I
mind
guess
blown from here.
yes, like humbling it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, Goals right now in terms of growth, I definitely do want to grow.
Hmm.
I'd like to do something like this as a career if possible.
Hmm.
But that's kind of also towards the back because I do genuinely enjoy it.
Hmm.
Which I guess is the reason you'd want to make a career out of it for me is just I enjoy it. I get so excited when I see returning people who come back to chat
Mm.
that would say like maybe a few days ago like oh I'm going on a flight I'll be missing your stream, you know, and you see that, and in the back of my head when I see them in chat again I can be like oh that's right, you went on a flight, how did that go, like was it, were you safe, you know, what did you enjoy your trip sort of thing.
That's good.
And it's just it's so fun to recognize people again and again and make like a genuine connection,
Hmm.
not in a parasocial way,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like that makes you know that you at least bring joy to someone's life for even a short amount of time per day.
So it sounds like it's enjoying you and you're enjoying it.
Yes.
Is because the way you're describing it to me sounds very warm, and that's
Yes.
like you're comfortable in it, and you want to make everybody else comfortable in it too, and that's a great thing. That's a great thing. I'm glad that you found this, and I'm really especially glad to have been able to meet you here and talk
Oh,
with
thank
you,
you.
folks. We're going to have the new links to Gastella's stuff here and on the description for the video. And check out what Gastella's got going on. Are you doing commissions right now?
Um, Currently I am doing like schedule commissions
Uh-huh.
for streamers, and then I'm also doing a couple of art commissions here and there. It just sort of depends on if people have any interest.
Yeah, well, knock on Gastella's door and see if see if there's some commissions available. And it's just been absolutely wonderful talking with you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.